Jazz hands for Monday, Joel.
Hello. How you doing, Mia?
Good.
How was your weekend?
Mine was, I believe, better than yours, and you're going to tell me all about that at some point during the show, aren't you?
I would love to vent about that right now.
Okay, well, let's jump
Well,
into
you
it.
saw the backside of it, but
I did. That looked painful. And let me just say before you jump in, if you're just now joining us for the very, very first time, and you'd like for us to be able to see your name or who you are, go to streamyard.com/Facebook because you're going to want to comment on the show. Right, Joel? What do we have for them?
We're giving away a bunch of these travel savings cards. So this is a $300 one. We're giving away $100 ones. We'll have some fun just asking some questions, getting some participation along the way.
Yes.
Plus, because we love participation, we love mixing it up, answering questions from beginners to advanced or whatever. We love participation. So we'll also at the end have a drawing, and we will give away a card to a random commenter. So
nice.
Feel free to say hi. Feel free to let us know where you're watching from. And feel free to
here.
Participate in some participation along the way.
Absolutely. And are you doing an extra one too that people went over and commented on our Facebook group too? Is that correct? I saw that in the email.
Let's do so. Anyone who did the I'm in, we need to count up how many comments those were. But we should kick things off with that.
Yes.
I'll just look it up real quick. You want to pull a random number generator up?
I'll tell you the number. We love doing that.
I want to see it.
Okay,
so of everyone who commented I'm in, we want to see who won that. So we'll just kick things off with a giveaway.
Okay. Give me my number.
11, that's people right now. We had 70 comments.
We did? So, I was wondering. I was like, everybody's saying I'm in randomly, and then I got excited because I saw you did something fun. All right. Random number is 48. I'm sorry I did it without the drum roll, but it's number 48.
Cool.
It was a bit unceremonious.
That was people who let us know they're going to be attending. So congratulations, number 48. We'll get to you after the webinar and get you that travel savings card.
We are. Let me say hi to a few people. I love people in Reunion of Commerce City. Hey, so hi, Rick Delane. Good to see you. Virginia. Hi from Virginia down in Parker. We have Mira's here from New York City. All kinds of fun people. So yes, the more that you comment, the better your chances are to win a prize. All right, Joel, let's dish. What happened this weekend?
So, this weekend I planned 4 trips. 1 work trip, 2 for fun trips, one of which I'll tell you about later. And then a 4th trip with some friends that we wanted to, they were saying, oh, you want to meet up? And, they kind of said, well, let's do it in Charleston. And so they pinned us down to specific dates, to a specific place. And not only that, but a specific hotel. And I got to say, I spent more time trying to figure that trip, which is pretty much like how most people travel. They pin themselves down to a specific place, specific time. I spent more time trying to figure out a decent deal on that trip than all of the other 3 combined.
Wow.
And in a couple of them, I would have to spend more cash if I didn't spend hours trying to figure it out.
Right.
We're flying the 4 of us first class to Europe for a total of $654.
Jeez.
Piece of cake to plan.
Right.
Why? Because I found the deal and I planned our calendar around it.
Right.
Michelle and I are taking an anniversary trip later that summer, next summer, to Athens, also first class, $320.
Phew, man.
This trip to Savannah during very, very busy times, during very peak seasons, impossible to find a good deal. It's going to cost us more without points. It would cost us more for that flight than the entire trip will cost us in first class to Europe.
Man.
And it's just, I mean, it's the epitome of why I started JGoot 5 years ago, because, I discovered when you do it the other way around, when you find good deals and plan your calendar around them, it is infinitely easier. Forget cost savings. It's infinitely easier to do it that way.
Did you use points on this though? I appreciate the event.
We haven't booked it yet. I mean, we haven't booked it yet. It's so obnoxious, and it will take so many points. So we can do it for free, but it will take so many points. It hurts my soul.
I'm sorry to ask you that, because that hurt my soul even asking you that question. And let's also face it, the big annoying thing about this, time is money. So you having to spend all that jumping through hoops. So all right, let's all light a candle for Joel to get through this process. Keep us posted. Actually, come back on here and tell us how it goes, though. But I love that you're telling the story, because now you have this incredible comparison to 3 other trips that you posted, or that you put together this weekend. Someone's feeling your pain. I hate traveling so much. I end up not traveling as much planning travel. They end up not traveling as much as they want. And if you have that kind of experience, absolutely. I love this. In the theme for the big expense, Ron says he's considering renewing his vows just to have a big expense.
Well, this will be a perfect topic for that.
This will be for that. And hey, I just want to also mention, we have folks standing by in the audience. We have Jordan, who's here, Josh, who's here, Brooke, who's here from our JGoot team. So if you have any questions, or you're interested in being part of our program, our fancy program, right? The lounge. You can just type interested in there. Let me take this other comment down, and somebody will answer you right now, and they'll send you some information. Sound good?
Yeah. Sounds great.
Yeah. So just type interested as we're going through here. We'll probably have some time for answering questions too, but Joel, you have a lot to get to, and you created a fun, fancy presentation for us again.
Yeah. So this is one that was actually inspired by several comments this past week. We got like 5 or 6 comments from people, talking about getting married and planning honeymoons and asking questions about that. So I figured, hey, we haven't done a topic on that. So it's big expenses, but I'm kind of do it with like wedding planning and honeymoon in mind. But the same exact principles apply, whether it's buying a car, doing a home remodel, having a big anniversary trip, or renewing your vows, or whatever. All of those are things that are typically much bigger expenses that are in your month-to-month budget. And that's a perfect opportunity to plan a big vacation that could actually be worth more than whatever it is you spend on that big expense.
Did you mention home renovation? Because you would need a vacation after some big home renovation.
And this is perfect for that too. Yeah.
Right.
A couple wrinkles that we'll get into with those, with car purchase, with home renovation, all that, and we'll get into that.
Awesome. We just got somebody that signed up for our lounge an hour ago. So welcome to
fantastic. Welcome.
Our lounge. That's awesome.
And so just for anyone who knows, we have JGoot Village. That's what you're watching right now. You can set your watch by when we show up on Mondays, unless we have technical difficulties. And this is, the whole idea is we teach you how to travel anywhere for free, and how to do so in kind of a perpetual way, so you can do that annually. In the lounge, we take that to the next level, and it's not just about traveling anywhere for free. It's about doing it in first class. It's about doing it more often. It's about doing it even if you have a family of 5 or 6. There is a higher level of sophistication. That's why it's a coaching program, but you get a taste of it right here in the village. So chime in, ask questions. We love answering them. I love being challenged. So don't hold back.
Let me throw one more thing in there too. And in this group, we do have a whole guide section. I'm going to post a link in there too during the show, so that just know there is a ton of free information, but our lounge is where you hit the gas, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You go super, there's a ton of information, but again, we have the guides here too. So I'll post that link. All right, let's jump in.
All right. So let's talk about big expenses. This is kind of the obvious example is weddings, but home remodels, car purchases, whatever. Most of these are things that most of us pay for in multiple ways. Loans, we take out a loan, and those are great, but they cost interest. We just pay cash. whether it's, actual cash or in check or whatever. The problem with that is it earns nothing in return. It doesn't do anything for us.
Right.
A lot of us might use that old reliable card that we've had in our wallet for 20 years because, we've accumulated so many points or so much cash back with that. That's what we're comfortable with. But as we've seen, we talked about it just last week, how, you can get 5, 10, 20 times more travel benefit than 1% cash back. So even if you're Warren Buffett, you can do more with travel benefits and points back than Warren Buffett could do with cash back.
Who still hasn't called you, by the way, has he?
No, he still hasn't.
Wait for that, by the way. That'll be another whole show when Warren Buffett finally calls back and Joel can prove to him that this is where the money is.
That'll be a fun challenge.
That will be.
But in a nutshell, let's just talk about a $50,000 wedding, a $50,000 home remodel. That if you did put it on that old reliable cashback card, I'll get you $500 cash back at best. Throw that in the bank at 8%, and in 9 years, it'll be worth $1,000. Woohoo! And that's the best case. The worst case is you take a home loan out, you put it on a 30-year AM, and you end up paying you pay that much and more back in interest.
Right.
So that's the traditional way. And what we're going to talk about today is just one simple twist. So instead of using our old reliable credit card, we use a new one. That's it. We use a new 1 or 2 cards. I'm going to spell that out of specifically which cards are best for this example. But basically, you just do a new card to get a huge surge of points. It's called a sign-up bonus. And basically, credit card companies it's so competitive out there, and they will do anything they can to get you to start spending your card with them versus the one that you've had for 20 years. Why? Because you've been making their competitor money for 20 years. They want that business for themselves. And they know that most people, once they switch, will stick with that card for another 20 years. So they're willing to give away the farm to get you to just try spending money with them. So that's it. I mean, that's the twist. And we're going to talk about how to do that, how to maximize the benefit, and, just leverage that big purchase that you're doing, whatever it is.
And Joel, you'll see. Go ahead.
The key here is it does need to be the right card. We've done other trainings on how, 1 or 2 of the right cards can be worth all of the other cards combined. That's the key. And that's the difference between, needing to juggle tons of credit cards to continue with this lifestyle and just having an evergreen, perpetual way of learning or of earning points. So.
Yes. And what I was going to say, and you said it right after that, that's the link for the cards that we recommend. We will talk about that specifically. And I know you'll get into this too, but it's always interesting because when you see a lot of these travel, the points guy and things like that, they just throw all different types of cards at you, right? Because they have their affiliate links that they're making a bunch of money off of. We're so specific here in Jay Goot about the cards. So you'll talk more on that.
Right. So you can, and that's a lot of the source of overwhelm. Like I've learned from the points guy, I've learned from the other places, and that's what we want to try to avoid. You don't need tons of cards. That's what we're going to talk about today. So again, the benefit here is that, we're not changing our lifestyle. Most of these are expenses that you swipe, that you give to your vendor. You don't have to change like the bill that's on auto recur with Netflix. You don't have to do any of that. And that's another benefit of taking advantage of these out of ordinary expenses. You give them to the home builder. You give the card to the caterer. You give the card to the roofer. Most of them take cards. There are ways to work around people that don't, and there are ways to evaluate whether that's worth your while. So, basically, the benefit is that you leverage those out of ordinary expenses to earn out of ordinary vacations. And
I'm in the middle of it. I am living proof right now, Joel. I bought a bunch of things on my cards that are getting me to that as well.
So for a lot of people, we've had hundreds of thousands of subscribers. We've read tens of thousands of emails. They all come in the same typical flavors. And a very common objection is like, yeah, I tried that once, it didn't work. Or it sounds like a lot of trouble. But, that's typically when, people don't know the true value of points and they just kind of blow it on an Applebee's gift card or whatever. I mean, we've talked about that to death. What we're talking about here, though, is we're talking about getting 200 to 500,000 points from this one-time expense that you're going through. That is a rare opportunity to take advantage of this. And it's a rare opportunity to like dip your toe in to this point hacking world and do it in style, which is no better way than to try it out to see if it's a fit for you.
And great point about that of being so specific about something that you are going to spend money on anyway. So I know a lot of people feel like, oh my gosh, I don't want to have to spend a lot of money to get that. But if you're going to spend it anyway, you don't want it to cost you money, which is what that traditional loan would be, or not make any money.
Right. So. Yeah, and I have this in future slides, but I'll just reiterate it here too. Like, we're assuming you're still going to get a loan. You're just going to get a credit card and then use the loan to pay it off. You're going to still write a check, but you're going to write a check to the credit card company after you hand the credit card company to the caterer. So It's all the same money. We're not endorsing go out and spend money that you don't have.
That's right.
So just to reiterate that, we are still endorsing responsible credit.
We always do. And that's the great point too. You get that loan, then you're not even going to be paying, which is how you really preach to all of us. We're not going to be paying those high interest or the interest that you would get because you're going to pay it right off the bat because you've already got the loan. So there we go.
Exactly.
We're like bossy bitty parents over here. Like, don't go into debt.
Right. So to reiterate here, like old normal thinking is how we think with the comfortable, reliable card that we've had in our wallet for 20 years. And that thinking is spend $50,000 to get 50,000 points or spend $50,000 to get $500. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about using leverage to multiply that multiple times over. So we're talking about spending as little as 10 grand that, again, we would be spending anyway. We're talking about extra expenses that aren't in the normal budget. So this applies to anyone going through one of those expenses, whether you work at McDonald's or somewhere else that pays a lot more. So we're talking about spending 10 to 25, maybe 50 grand to get 200 to 500,000 points. This is a guaranteed strategy that can do that. So how is this possible? And that's done through leverage. So I always love when I can work a quote into a presentation.
I do too. Who do you have this week?
Archimedes, who is a mathematician and a physicist and an astronomer from 200 BC.
Wow.
Said, give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I can move the world. And it's just, it's a basic principle of physics. And this is very much the same in the credit card world. So you've got your earning multipliers where you can spend 5 grand and get 50 or 100 or 150 or 200,000 points from spending 5 grand. That's leverage. You can take those points and multiply them again and get astronomically luxurious vacations that most of us would never spend real money on, and use those 200 to 500,000 points to take 10 to 50, if not more, $10 to $50,000 vacations that, again, most of us wouldn't spend real money on. And this can come from spending 10 to 50 grand on credit cards that you would be spending anyway. So you've got your earning multipliers that can move the world, which of, those vacations that most people think are like way far off after retirement or after they win the lottery or whatever. Nope. You can use points to do the same thing now, not when you retire.
Gotcha. I'm going to throw a comment in here real quick. Sorry. They would only let me put $10,000 on a credit card when I bought a car recently. I was so sad, says one of our users. That was.
Well, and that's, I bring that up later, but that's a common way of thinking of it. If that's just putting on your old reliable card and all that's getting is 10,000 points, well, yeah, that's pretty discouraging, hardly worth the effort.
Right.
But if you can do that with a new card, and 5,000 is usually the limit. So you got lucky that you could do 10. But if you could, if you used a new card, you could just put 5 on the card and earn 50 to 100,000 points right away for that purchase, for the same purchase.
Absolutely.
So before we get into the how to earn the points, I know a lot of people are thinking, like I still sounds like a lot of trouble. Let's talk about what you can actually do with 200 to 500,000 points. This was a few months ago. Took 4 of us to Costa Rica, round trip in standard recliner first class, but still first class. Direct from Denver. Those were $2,000 seats. That was exactly 200,000 points. And that's 4. So if there are just 2 of you, you could take 2 trips for 200,000 points. Another example, you can stay at lavish, luxurious places. This picture does not do it justice. We have a video in the guide section of me doing a tour of the places we stayed in Bali. But this was possibly the most unbelievable hotel and resort experience we've ever experienced in our lives.
It was.
And you can do those kinds of things with points because you don't need, $700 or $1,000 worth of points. Sometimes you could do it with $50 or $100 worth of points because points have varying values. And when you learn how to find the sweet spots, there's a term for it. It's called sweet spots. You can get not a penny per point, but 5 cents, 10 cents, 25 cents per point. That goes a long way. And again, there's no way any stockbroker with any level of safety, I mean, they could be totally risky and maybe compete with that, but most people can't compete with that kind of return. We went to Bali, flew there, round trip in first class. We also, one of those legs was first class in a private suite. Oh, and so the Bali round trip, that was a little more expensive because of throwing the suite in there. It was a total of 170,000 points per person.
Per person.
So 340,000 points was basically $40,000 worth of flights on a $50,000 vacation that we spent a total of $3,000. And that was just like taxes, fees, etc. But it was literally like $40,000 worth of flights and $10,000 worth of lodging that we paid nothing but taxes on.
Man, that's incredible. And these are bucket list trips. I mean, just the one alone for this, and I love. Thanks for putting that link in there. That's Bamboo Inda, is that beautiful one with the picture in the middle.
Yeah, look it up. Bamboo Inda is insane. It's just unbelievable. And their pictures don't do it justice, but it's a lot closer than this picture. We're bummed. We hired a photographer for 2 of the days that we were there, but it didn't work out for him to take pictures in this place, which is kind of a bummer. So we just had our butler take our picture with our iPhone.
Who says that?
Not quite the same, but
who says that? You do. And you can't too.
Yeah, butlers come free in a lot of $700 to $1,000 a night places.
Goodness, I'm dreaming of that.
This is, a lot of people just have a goal of doing all inclusives. You can do all inclusives, and you can do much nicer all inclusives. This was in Cancun, the Hyatt, not the Ziva, the Zilara, and we got, we didn't pay a single penny for the entire week. We were upgraded to a swim. Oh, I apologize. We paid like $80 to upgrade to this swim out suite. So it wasn't totally free. We paid $80 a night for an $800 a night swim out suite that, again, we had like private butler service, just bringing our drinks to our room. which was right outside the pool. Every morning I would get up and just swim and meet my wife at the restaurant. She would walk because she didn't want to, go to the restaurant in a swimsuit. I could throw a t-shirt on and be perfectly fine with that.
But I love that with this kind of money, or with how you can use these 200,000 to 500,000 points, then you're saving all that money. Then you can still spend some money like that, like the taxes or even upgrading. So
Right.
then you've got this extra money to upgrade. So I appreciate you going through these, because a lot of people, it's just more how do I get the points, but what can you do with them? So those are good. Those are really good information.
Right.
We agree, Michelle. Pool and a butler sound fantastic.
So that, by the way, that was 100,000 points for 5 days in Cancun. And then just the cost of upgrading to that room. Otherwise, it would have been, we had a top floor that would have been free. And then here's another one. This was just a few weeks ago in Mexico City. And this was like a 1,400 square foot place. It had 4 rooms. This was the living room and an entry foyer. There was an entire like kitchen with a boardroom table to meet at. This was our living room. This was a huge bedroom and a massive bathroom that was the size of most standard hotels.
Sure.
So that's the whole point of that is like it's really important to get rid of that mindset, because we've all been there. I used to not understand the value of points, and it's not all that exciting to go and earn points. But when you learn what to do with points, and when you learn that you can leverage those points into far more than what you could leverage pennies into, penny will always just be worth a penny, no matter what the price is. Points are worth nickels, dimes, quarters sometimes. When you redeem them the right way in travel. So that's just to give a little taste of like, is this worth the trouble of getting a new credit card? Well, getting a new credit card takes about 10 minutes, assuming you do your homework the right way. And these are the benefits that you can get.
And that's the whole point of it, though, is how you redeem them in the right way. Oh, this looked fun. You posted this weekend. Oh.
This is one of the trips I booked this weekend. Very excited about this. So my kids are, my son is in college and my daughter graduates high school this year. So we've got, she'll be just shy of 18, but she doesn't drink anyway, but we're still going to hang out in the bar to celebrate them being done with high school and adults by flying to Europe on a plane like this.
That's
for
amazing.
$642. That's wow. That's $60 or $160 a piece. And with points that we just passively earned through what we teach inside the lounge and what we're kind of teaching right now.
Okay, can we go real quickly over the 2 rules of JGoot, just so everybody remembers what that is?
So 2 very, very important rules, and one can't, in my opinion, one can't live without the other. So rule 1, look every day, whether you're planning a trip or not, because when you find a deal that is so good, you pounce on it. It's infinitely easier to just plan your calendar around that trip than it is to hope to find a good deal that fits your calendar. This trip, we didn't even have to look. It's 6 months out. We blocked it off on our calendar now, and we're going. So future meetings, we reschedule.
Is that Athens?
This is to Milan.
Oh, that one's going to Milan. Ooh, I have some good recommendations for you when you get there. Brooke says that on international flights, the legal drinking age is 18. Just a little FYI. Plus, you're going over to Europe. And then, real quick question: Ron wants to know, what's the longest time you spend at home? You're not even the most traveled out of everybody in the group.
And the funny thing is, I bet I'm probably only in the 60th percentile of our group.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing. We've got so many savvy travelers who, and we all learn from each other. I'm just like everyone else. I'm counting the days in both the good ways and the bad ways until we're empty nesters. We're certainly going to travel more, but right now we're just like everyone else, that we have to juggle schedules and calendars and lacrosse schedules and band schedules and divorce schedules and all of that stuff.
Right.
But yeah, so great question. I'm flattered. It'll be a lot less time this time next year. We'll be traveling a lot more.
Yes.
And Brooke, thank you for that. Yes, fortunately, my daughter doesn't drink, has no interest in it, apparently. So we'll just be hanging out there because it's cool.
She'll always be your driver.
But yeah, my son is looking forward to having a beer on that plane. And I have to admit, I'm kind of looking forward to doing it with him.
Fun.
So let's see. So those are just some tastes of what is possible. So is this worthwhile? Let's map this out and see if this would be a worthwhile strategy. So to do this, it's usually a good idea to start planning 60 to 90 days before this big event. Again, whether it's a wedding, a big party, a home project, buying a car, you want to map this out probably 60 to 90 days. The biggest reason is you want to make sure you're in a good position credit-wise. So I saw someone earlier ask, what kind of credit score do you need? Mm-hmm. You want to have at least 650, and it's, the higher you have, the better, because, sometimes other things go into play. But the magic number is 650, which is not excellent. That's good. That's kind of the minimum threshold for a good credit rating. Lower than that, you can go to the guides section in Jagut Village, and Unit 5 has a video on how to boost your score by 100 to 200 points in 60 to 90 days.
And it worked for me, and we had a ton of good tips in there, including this check credit on NerdWallet, check Credit Karma, a whole hour of it. That'll help you out.
Right. So yeah, it's a good idea to kind of map this out along with that big expense that you're planning on. But the one big difference is try to do it in a way so that you can put it on a credit card. Another important thing to start early is to look for vendors who accept credit cards. This is especially true for home projects, especially true for cars. If you're dealing with two different dealers, and if you want to buy a Lexus and you're going to deal with a Lexus dealer, well, there are probably a couple, if not a few Lexus dealers near you. Might be worth shopping that around and asking which one will accept a credit card for a down payment without a fee.
Right.
So the key here is you want to, so in addition to shopping around with contractors, with vendors, with salespeople, you want to shop around for people that will allow you to use a credit card without a fee. Another big one, and I'm kind of foreshadowing into what we're going to talk about next, but a really massive one is to shop for vendors with Amex's Shop Small program. I didn't include a link because it was a big, long, cumbersome one, but just Google Amex Shop Small. Write that down. This is extremely powerful. We talk about earning multipliers in other things, and this is an earning multiplier on top of a sign-up bonus. So those are two things that you want to do in advance and plan on using Amex Shop Small. Basically, for the 6 months, if you get the Amex Platinum card, which we're going to talk about, for the first 6 months, they will give you 10 points for every dollar on dining and 10 points for every dollar on approved Shop Small vendors.
Wow. 10 points?
One of our members, and I hope I'm not, she's shared this publicly in the village, so I'm comfortable sharing it, but she is a teacher, has said they don't spend a lot of money. They also have a business that they put on their, and they needed new carpet. They found someone to install carpet that was on Amex's Shop Small program. They take credit cards already. Wow. They earned over 400,000 points in the first 6 months that they got that one card. Wow. Just by paying attention to those two rules. So when I talk about, like, a lot of people associate point hacking with like juggling lots of credit cards, that's because most of the people that teach this are incentivized to get you to get lots of credit cards. That's the only way they make their money, through affiliate commissions. But there's infinitely more power, infinitely more leverageability with just knowing the rules inside and out of the cards that you have, especially if they're the right cards.
And I just want to address this real quick because I just pulled up a comment from someone saying, and we totally get that. It says, we heard that it can really hurt your credit if you're juggling a lot of cards, and that's definitely not what we're preaching here. We have this link here with the cards that we recommend, but it's definitely not about getting all like you would get of like, oh, take this one and get this one because of all these different incentive deals.
Yeah.
And that's definitely not where we're going with that at all. The one thing we would say though is don't close them down. If you had some old ones, just pay them off, keep them open. That can hurt your credit. And we talk about that in that episode. I like to call them episodes 5 of talking about building your credit.
Yeah, we cover that. We cover home loans, which is you notice that I have a little asterisk there. If you're buying a home in the near future, be sure to talk to your mortgage lender or mortgage broker. Different underwriters have different rules on how many lines of credit are okay. So that's a very important one. You don't want to hurt your ability to qualify for a loan. But more cards usually means more credit, usually means better credit score. So as long as you don't just apply, like you got to check, make sure you're above 650, make sure you have good odds of getting approved. As long as you get approved, you're going to get more credit. You're going to have more lines of credit. That's going to help your score. If you're reckless and just go blindly apply when you would have been declined, that will hurt your score. It'll ding your score 10 or 15 points. It's not the end of the world, but we do like to be strategic about that.
And we always preach to keep an eye on your score. You can always get your credit score, all 3 of them, from your bank. I know Wells Fargo offers it for me as well. So just keep an eye on it too. I'm like an eagle. And someone asked, what about Chase Sapphire? Big fans. Big fans.
Big fans. Speaking of, we're coming up on that next. 15 to 30 days out. Remember, this is a plan. You're going to take 10 or 20 extra minutes, get 1 or 2 extra cards. The first one should be Chase Sapphire Preferred. A lot of people say, what about this card? What about that card? What about this card? Chase. Start with Chase. We actually have multiple hour-long classes on why this is so important. We don't have the time to go into that. It's a very important topic, which is why we spend multiple sessions on it inside the lounge. But without having to spend multiple sessions on that, trust me, start with Chase. And as of right now, at the time of this video, it should be the Sapphire Preferred, not the Reserve, because of what I'm about to tell you next. If you already have the card, remember, this is about leveraging sign-up bonuses and getting a new card. You don't need to be married to whatever card it is you have. In fact, someone who's savvy isn't married to any one card. This is, this isn't a monogamous relationship with your credit card. You will you will benefit by having multiple cards. So if you already have the preferred card and you already burned the points, well, let's make sure that you know how to use them, that you don't burn them in the future. Go get a new card and try again. Okay. So the Reserve, if you have the preferred, you can't get the Reserve, but you can get an Ink card, you can get a Freedom card, do the research, figure out what's best for you if you already have the preferred. Then you go spend the minimum amount, make sure to pay it off by the statement due date so you don't incur interest charges. Interest charges defeat the entire purpose of this point hacking game.
I do.
So you don't want to incur charges. You want to avoid fees as much as possible. We'll talk about that. And then after you meet that minimum spend, continue to use this card for all travel, for Lyft, for dining, and so on. Read the fine print, know those rules inside and out. You can get as much as 5 or 10 points per dollar spent on dining. You can also do the same with Lyft, not Uber, Lyft.
Specifically Lyft, yes.
I literally sold my car and didn't replace it, knowing that I work at home. When I go out, it's usually with Michelle or to the airport, and I can earn a lot more points by just using Lyft when that's the case.
How long has that been? Like 6 months?
It's been great.
Yeah.
It's been, not quite that. Probably 4 or 5.
That's awesome.
And it's been an inconvenience a couple times. Like I remember I'd say, oh yeah, let's go meet for a beer. oh, I'll be a little later. I got to call a Lyft.
Right.
But that's about it.
Very strategic, though. I love that. So it's strategic thinking on your shopping, things like that too, of what you can get, especially for travel, dining, etc., groceries, things like that.
Yeah. And if you're thinking this is too much trouble, this is basically going to get you. Well, my private suite was 50,000 points. This sign-up bonus gets you 60. So the 5 or 10 minutes that you take to get a new card and switch your checking account to pay it, it's almost guaranteed to be less trouble than the potential travel value you get out of it.
Let me pull this one in here too before we move over to that. Used our link in October to get the Chase Sapphire with the 100,000 points. I also got to trying to meet the minimum now, but now it's 60,000. So you never know when it's going to change.
Yep. Yeah. And I would say, don't worry. Don't hold out. Don't wait on getting another card. If you own a business, get the Inc. card. They're still offering 100,000 points.
Oh, good. Okay.
Don't get the Southwest card that's offering 100,000 points. Not nearly as valuable. Don't get the Hilton card that's offering 120, sometimes 180,000. Not nearly as valuable. Don't get the Marriott card offering 100,000 points. Not nearly as valuable.
But if you do, Uber earns points on Marriott, says one of our experts.
Yep.
So thank you, Stephanie.
Lyft also earns for Hilton. So I mean, I'll take the points. I'm not going to go waste a credit pull on the card though.
Yes.
So after you earn that bonus, after you hit that spend, remember this is taking an advantage of a small window of time where you're spending, an out of the ordinary amount of money. So after you do that, or as you're approaching that minimum spend, this is the big one. This is what everyone says, oh, but that's $700 a year. No way would I ever do that. Some people say, no way would I ever pay a fee. Crazy. Yeah. Like you can get so much more out of $100 to $700 credit card than any no fee travel card out there. And so what I like to, and I tell this to my friends, I say, don't think of this as a fee. It's an it's paying your fees up front that you would pay anyway. So paying for $200 in incidentals on the airline of your choice, you get, so the first 200, they reimburse you. They give you $300 a year in Uber rides. So remember, your Sapphire is for Lyft. Your Platinum is for free Uber rides every month. Not to even mention the Centurion Lounge. If you live in LA, if you live in New Jersey, you've got to have a Platinum card because on top of airport lounges, you have lounges at the Staples Center and at Barclays Center. There's a Centurion Lounge at Barclays Center in Jersey. And you get posh. You can get the cheapest seats in the house. You get the nicest seats in the house for free, assuming availability at concerts, at basketball games, at hockey games, at whatever is showing at those places.
That's the piece that people forget. And this is a good point. It's a mindset shift. Definitely. It's like prepaying for $700 worth of food and drink in the Centurion Lounge. Also, you wouldn't be able to get into it without it. So there's the beauty and the privilege of that too. I have a couple questions when you're done on this too, specifics on cards as well. So I'll throw those out there when we get through this.
Cool.
Just to let y'all know, we see your questions. We just have a lot to get through.
So a lot of this is just about, leveraging sign-up bonuses, choosing the right cards that are good long-term cards to have in your wallet. Now, is the Platinum a good long-term card to have in your wallet if you only travel once a year? No, of course not. Think creatively, just do everything you can with the Preferred and maybe get a different Chase card. But if you travel more than a couple times a year, there is nothing better than having that Platinum card. It will help immensely with the quality of your travels, with insurance, with just all sorts of stuff.
Yes.
And remember, you did your homework. When you have this card, you're not just spending on all your stuff. You're also spending strategically. So you're going to spend every penny you can on that card for personal dining. You're going to spend every penny you can for groups. Amex actually has a feature that allows you to put it on your card, and you can Venmo the bill to your friends, and they'll automatically split it with your friends. So anytime you're out with a group, pick up the tab, have them Venmo you the difference. You get not only a penny per point, you get 10 points per dollar spent. Yeah, I said penny per point. I meant penny per dollar spent, or point per dollar spent. This, you get 10 times that. And then if you're planning a wedding, rehearsal dinner. That's 100. That could be 100,000 points right there.
Yeah, really could.
So 50 to 100. So basically spend everything you can strategically on that card that's going to maximize that benefit. And again, I mean, 2 members in our private coaching group earned 400 and 500,000 points just from having that card and strategically spending in the right places on that card alone.
On that shop small vendors.
And
such a great point.
Just another thing, like 50,000 points. I showed you the luxurious, lavish things that you can do that most of us would never spend real money on. Another thing that a family of 5 or 6 might not spend real money on is flying anywhere. But this changes that game, because 500,000 points could literally be, it could be 100 flights. Now that's the best case scenario. But I mean, if you've got a big family, this solves that problem too. So you get to apply points however you like, whether it's traveling just as often, but in first class, which normally costs 3 to 10 times as much, or whether it's traveling just as often, but flying there instead of driving with your family of 6. I mean, it solves all sorts of problems when you know how to manipulate those points.
I love the freedom that can give some people, because you're right. If you have a larger family, there's no way you'd ever think about flying, but then you have that car ride. Right. You're going in the States. Let me pop this question here real quick while we're on this. Do points have to be redeemed in a certain amount of time, i.e. use it or lose it?
So that's a very good question, and it varies by vendor. That's also why we recommend these flexible points, because those points don't expire as long as you are carrying a card that qualifies for those points. So you can just earn them and sit on them until you find a special occasion, like flying your family of 4 to Europe. So yeah, those points don't expire. Typically individual airline, individual hotel points, those all, your mileage will vary. But most of them do expire, and there are tricks you could do to keep them alive. That is a different topic for a different day. But the 2 cards that we recommend do not actually expire as long as you continue to have the card.
And again, take a look at this jgoot.com/cards. That has the cards that we recommend. These are links that are linked to some of our experts. So they do get a little bit of credit, but these are not affiliate links. So we recommend these because that's what we use.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah. Those are literally what I use, what my experts use. We've got lots of experts inside the lounge, and they're the ones that help and answer questions on a personal basis, and that's one of the ways that we show our appreciation for their amazing expertise.
We do. I'm going to pop this other question in here too. Is it a good idea to get a separate card for my wife rather than have her as a second user on my account?
Great question. There are advantages to both. It's mostly, it mostly depends on your comfort level and how into this game you want to get. What I'm recommending is a way to just dip your toe in, get a nice surge of points, see if you like it. It's not for everyone, but this is a great way to effectively and efficiently test it out.
Yes.
And then
it depends on your wife's credit too. I had to throw that in there. It depends on her credit.
Sometimes there are perks to having them as an authorized user. But most times, it's going to be an inconvenience, because when you do want to sign we call it P2, your P1, your significant other is P2.
Yes.
It's usually a big inconvenience because you get soft declined because they say, oh, nope, you already have that card. And you say, oh, no, she's just an authorized user on my account. And you have to prove that, and then they'll approve her. And really what you want is to to be able to get that sign-up bonus for that second card.
Yes.
At a nice strategic time when you need them. So we also don't preach just going and chasing sign-up bonuses just for the sake of it. You have, all of us have expected use of how many points we need for our travel style. And we kind of teach how to do just enough so that you're not turning your life upside down chasing sign-up bonuses.
Exactly. And I love that we have some questions, and Brooke is popping in there with questions as well. One of them being, are points a good way to pay for expensive car rentals? And Brooke popped in on that too. Do you want to offer your opinion on that real quick?
Well, I fully agree with Brooke. So the best places to use points are first for airlines. Hands down, the best value on earth is with commercial airlines. The second best is with certain hotels. Not all hotels are created alike. And this was part of my frustration. They were at a Marriott chain, and it was just like, those are like the most worthless points possible. And I couldn't. It hurt my soul to transfer points to Marriott. Nothing against Marriott. There are okay redemptions out there. They're just way harder to find. You got to work a lot harder to get max value out of Marriott points, Hilton points, etc.
Interesting.
So, but after that, they just kind of dissipate. Like, you may as well get a gift card. You may as well use it for an iPad if you're not going to do that. So cruises, penny per point for the most part. Not really worth, that's getting back into the world of it's not really worth the trouble to just get points that are worth a penny a piece. What you want is 2 cents, 3 cents, 5 cents, 25 cents. And that's done through the right hotel redemptions and the right airline redemptions. That's what we teach inside the lounge. So again, the goal here is to get your feet wet, get you a free trip or two, maybe even a first class trip. What we teach in the lounge is how to repeat that process in an evergreen fashion. Your points will replace themselves automatically when you have the right spending habits. And you can determine what your spending habits need to be based on your travel lifestyle. The more you apply rule number 1, the less you need rule number 2. And those are all things that we teach inside the lounge, as well as here in the village.
Okay. Jill, did we want to ask a question to give away a gift card? I know we're going to sneak one in there.
Let's. I forgot to put questions in the slides themselves. So from what we've talked about, let's see here.
While you're looking that up, I'm going to pull up Joe's comment. Is it better to use your wife's credit card and let her pay the bill? Let me know how that works out for you, Joe.
Right. Yeah. We'll avoid the answer on that one. Let's see. Okay. What is when is a good time to spend a fee, like a 3% fee to pay a contractor? So first answer gets a $100 travel savings card. When is a good time to pay a fee? It's usually a very bad idea to pay any fees, even 1%. I mean, all you're doing is buying points for a penny a piece when you do that. When is a good time to pay a fee, whether it's a remodel, a caterer, the wedding photographer? Maybe you've got your heart set on a certain contractor and they just won't take credit cards unless you tack 3% on. When is it okay to pay that? So not quite, so to meet minimums. To meet minimum spend. That's our ding, ding, ding. To meet minimum spend. So
where did that come from?
We like to avoid paying fees at all costs, but sometimes, 2 times in particular, when you can get more value out of those fees, it's okay. So one case is when you're looking for a minimum spend. So if it's a stretch to meet the 5,000 minimum spend on that card, and you got a contractor that's going to tack 3% on to $2,000, that'll put you over the top. Guess what? You just earned 50,000 points, not 2,000. That's well worth the $6 that you have to pay.
That's right.
To do that. So if it pushes you over the top, when you would otherwise be at risk of missing out on that sign-up bonus. If it pushes you over the top so you can move on to the next card, like what we're talking about doing here, in those cases, it's okay to pay those fees. You still want to avoid it because it does kind of cut into the effectiveness of it.
Right.
But that's one case where it's okay to pay a fee. Another case to pay a fee is when you have your eye on an immediate redemption. So for example, these $5,000 flights that I booked per person, if I could get those points for a couple cents a piece, that would be an okay case to buy those points because, basically it would cost me a couple grand for a $5,000 flight. So in those cases, if I don't have a lot of points, that would be a case where buying points would be okay. So those are kind of two exceptions on when paying a fee to play this game is an okay idea. Otherwise, avoid it at all costs, even if it's just 1%.
Gotcha. And I think that might have been Diane who popped in that initial spend. Nicely done.
Great answer.
Thank you.
Well, let's see. And yeah, Ron chimed in. Ron said the return on points is greater. Yep, that's an okay. Diane beat him to it, but good answer. Great. Lots of great answers.
Nice.
So some other little things to keep in mind if you're planning out a strategy like this. Car shopping, you're typically going to be limited to the first 5,000. Normal spending, most people would say, hardly worth the trouble for 5,000 points. But that's an instant sign-up bonus and can get you 50,000 points with that one purchase.
That's right.
So if you time this, if you think a few months ahead of that big purchase, you can use a sign-up bonus to get 50, 100, 150,000 points that can be used towards all of those things I've showed you earlier.
I do love that about the lounges. You always let us know too. Somebody's always on top of it, of what the latest deals are. And it's a trusted referral, which I love too, because if you spend 2 seconds and your algorithm is going to pick it up and you're just going to get bombarded with all types of offers, and that's overwhelming too.
Right. Let's see. Oh, so home contractors who charge a fee. Again, I asked that question. I had the answer right there. Worth it to meet minimum spend, not worth it otherwise. So I just realized that was kind of a gimme. Oh, well. So
letting you slide on that.
let's talk about common objections. But Joel, I already have those cards. So get a different one. Get something that contributes to ultimate rewards. An ink card, a freedom card, a sapphire card. Pick one. Just make sure it's a new one. Pick one that's right for you. If you already have the Amex Platinum and you need more points, again, this should only be if you need more points. If you're sitting on 1 million points, well, talk to someone who knows how to use them.
Yes.
And get 10 times more out of those points. Instead of 10 grand, that could be 100 grand in value. Easy. Seems like this is just for people with good credit. Yeah, it is. So we've got a video on how to fix your credit. So if getting better interest rates on a home isn't motivation enough, if getting better rates on a car isn't motivation enough, if getting approved for a car loan isn't motivation enough, how about getting $5,000 to $50,000 worth of travel as a result of your good credit? It's not that hard. Go fix it. The benefits are amazing.
I say it every time. I'm a club member of that because I improved mine and got the card. And now I think I have 116,000 points now with the Chase Sapphire, which has been great. So
those are some of the most valuable points out there.
I know it. Pretty exciting.
And more importantly, not to go and blow them on $1,000 worth of stuff, because you can get $5,000 to $10,000 to $15,000 worth of stuff.
You can. And I want to bring this up again. We mentioned it earlier, but when switching cards, should I cancel the first one that I got? Nope. No need.
Nope. Yeah. Just throw it in a drawer, quit using it. Even the for-fee cars, usually, as long as you are aware of them, there's usually a way you can offset that fee, whether it's free bags or free Ubers or free drinks and food or whatever. But yeah, it's typically better to keep those cards open for your credit score.
One thing that I did right away too was go over to everything that I was having auto paid, like through PayPal or anything else. I checked through my credit card and made sure I switched that all over. to that new credit card that I got. So every single my Netflix, my Spotify, I have a lot of those stuff, things like that. So I just made sure that everything went right. Just changed all of those right off the bat. Took me a little bit of time, but it was worth it.
I actually switched. I switched insurance because my old provider didn't let me pay on a card. My new one did.
Look at that. See, that's what you get when you
That's how valuable points are. Most people would think that's a lot of trouble. Now, when you know how to turn a penny into a quarter.
And then as we saw, I know somebody had commented like, I'm just looking at your pictures. You're not teaching us, but you had to look at those pictures to see what we're talking about of how you can spend those. So hopefully
the key is you have to earn them first. A lot of people say, well, what do I do? Earn them and then sit on them and wait until you learn. So we'll actually get to that. So seems like a lot of trouble. Not once you learn what to do with those points. What do I do after I use up those points?
Well, it's never one trip. Little FYI. It's never one trip after that.
Let's get you 1 point. I include this picture. Let's drop off the cards thing because it just shows the price. This was my first point hacking trip. I had earned millions of points before because I had a business where I spent millions of dollars, and I blew them. I blew them all for a penny a piece. That was, almost 20 years ago. And yeah, I earned points the hard way, and I had no clue how to redeem them. If I knew what to do with those points, I never would have run out. I literally never would have run out.
Right.
So this was my first trip. This was actually 3 months after I decided, okay, I sold the business. I'm no longer generating just fistfuls of points from lots of spend on a business. I got to figure out how to do this, and I know people do it. So I rolled up my sleeves. I figured it out. And this was 3 months after I had been kicking the tires on the idea for years. And I'm like, I got to figure out the right card. One of these days I'll figure out the right card and I'll get started. Just get started. Pick one of those cards. I recommend in that order.
Yes. And let me just remind everybody, if you haven't watched these shows before or seen a lot of our live streams. So Jay Goot and Just Get Out of Town literally is just born from this is your lived experience. So all of the information is basically Joel just teasing out that idea this whole time and keeping at it, and then hiring or working with all these experts who came on board. So I just want to mention that as sort of the organic background of Jay Goot, of kind of how you got to it. It's all lived experience.
Well, and the funny thing is, we have the most amazing experts who volunteered for the first several months that we were getting. It wasn't until recently that we officially got them on payroll and kind of came up with a more formal agreement. Otherwise, they just kind of chimed in and shared their expertise. And the funny thing is, all of us are in the same boat. We all have this travel bug for different reasons. Some have had it always. Others, I picked it up after a divorce and I refused to give up travel, and I kind of caught the bug then. But we all have the same bug where our friends say, oh, I wish I can travel like you. And we latch on and we say, oh, but you can. And we want to teach our friends. None of them do. Yeah. So I started this community. They joined this community, and all of us are that passionate about it. And now it's this beautiful thing because we have people who actually want to hear what we have to say, and they want to travel like us. And some of us travel better than us, and they share their tips. And it's like this amazing country club of members that instead of liking golf, they love travel.
Right. And that's why I said that about
inside the lounge.
It is when we say it seems like a lot for one trip. That's the funny thing, though. You end up taking a lot more trips, I think, than you ever have to. I do have a couple other comments and questions, but pop through that and then we'll circle back.
Cool. So yeah, the good news here is that the cards we shared are the best long-term cards you can have. I don't care if you use our referral link or not. Use those because those are the foundation of making this a good, healthy, long-term habit that is very easy to manage.
Yep.
Those two cards, nothing else. Don't ask yourself, what other card should I get? It should be those two cards. Don't keep thinking about this for years like I did. Just go do it and try it and see. And then when you get 60,000 points, then when you get 200,000 points, challenge yourself to see if you can stretch 200,000 points farther than $2,000 worth of value. You'll know whether it was worth your trouble, worth your time or not.
Yes.
And if you only get $2,000 in value, it's still $2,000 you didn't have. But I'm telling you, you can get $10 or $20 or $30,000 in value from a couple 100,000 points. So, and the bad news is really the only way to get better is to just start. So, and then once you start, you got to practice.
That's the piece that I think people miss, and we're constantly learning it. And, several of us in the group have relearned things over and over again, because I find too, once I have some experience, it's going to land differently in my head as well too. So I'm a repeat learner.
Yeah.
I have somebody that said, been listening to you for a while, got more than 120,000 points from Chase, and want to learn how to spend them wisely for upcoming trips.
Awesome. Well, yeah. And just remember that 120,000 points are worth a minimum of $1,200. Aim to redeem them for a minimum of $2,400.
Yes.
And if it's less than that, ask, and if you can't find it, hold on to them. Spend cash instead, because those can be worth so much more.
Key point, hold on to them. Just don't force it if you're not feeling it.
So if I haven't beat the just get started horse to death, I'll share one last thing. And that is, we get this. I circled this, and I did these slides an hour or two ago. So it was 4 hours ago. We get these messages all the time. And there's nothing we can do. This person is going to pay through the nose to go to Bangkok because they're leaving next month, and they're going to have to pay market rate, whatever that is. There are some Hail Mary plays we teach in our guides section, but those are just acts of desperation that you do when you don't have any other options. If this person had gone and gotten a credit card a month or two ago, they'd be going for free. I don't know how to say this. Like, 90% of the people we talk to are thinking, yeah, I'll do this someday. I'm going to get around to it. I'm telling you, just get started. That's the hardest part. There are like a million quotes for that. I'm going to share one. How to eat an elephant, one bite at a time. The 1,000-mile journey starts with the first step. What else we got? Just start, people. You don't need to join the lounge. You do need to start.
What does Nike say? Just do it.
There we go. There's another one. And my favorite one.
I love that one.
Here's one. Let's give a gift card away.
Okay.
The best time to plant a tree 20 years ago. What's the second best time?
Waiting. Right? Just waiting to see who's got it. Oh,
now, close enough.
That's right.
Thank you. Amen.
All right.
The second best time is today. Like I said, use our referral link. Don't use it. Go get yourself a Chase card. If you already have the Chase card, get an Ink card. If you already have that, get the Freedom card. Get a new source of points that you didn't have, and go have some fun figuring out how to spend them.
Yes, I agree. Actually, I like today now even better than today, because you have today, and then you can do it right now today.
Right.
That's awesome. Let me see if I have. There's so many todays. I love that. Everybody got
awesome.
it. We sang them right through it, and then we are going to do I've got. Let's see. Probably have.
Yeah. How many comments do we have?
I think I have 115. Joel, pop back through those messages while I'm pulling that up too, and see if there's anything else. I know.
Okay.
We've gotten a really good comment from Judith, just going through some different qualification stuff. I feel for you on that. It's from Judith Woods. I don't know if you see her comment. And I'm going to pull up that random number generator. Here's Judith. It's kind of long, but
okay.
But no worries. Let me pull this up here. Do you see that one, Joel?
Yep. Yeah, debt to income ratio is why you're disqualified. This is, I would say this sounds like almost more of a PSA, which is a very good announcement to share. Of this kind of reinforces our initial point of don't carry balances. Don't do this and carry balances and pay interest and increase your debt to income ratio. That will hurt you in many ways, your credit score, your ability to get a house, and so on. Even with the high score, if your debt to income ratio is too high, that's going to hurt you. So I didn't see that as a question, but more of like a vulnerable share.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Thank you for sharing that. And that just reinforces, don't run out and spend this money if you don't have the money in the checking account to pay it. That's not what we're talking about. You'll bury yourself in debt. You'll pay way more than the benefits you get in interest. So yeah, that's a great one to close off.
It is. And pay and never had any interest. Good for you.
Fantastic.
That's awesome. All right. Let me do my random number generator. I'm going to say that we have 115. Boom. Comment number 97. So if you have not watched our show before, just to let you know, we do need to go back and count all of these comments, and we'll find out which one was comment number 97. You also get a gift card. That's 3 gift cards we gave away today, Joel.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
4. Two questions. One I'm in drawing.
One in the beginning. That's right.
Yeah.
Very generous. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in. We went over today because we had so many good things to talk about. That was awesome. So happy holiday, everybody.
Yes.
It's the start of the holiday season. So for those of you in the States here, have a wonderful holiday week, and we'll see you next Monday.
Right? Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Oh, Gidget's over here, but she's sleeping. She's in a picture right behind me. So I'll bring her on next week. Bye.